Hey friends, this is Dolynny TV. Good morning to you and welcome to the Sunday before Game 7. The Edmonton Oilers, despite, how this series has played out so far, found an effort unlike any other in this series to push the series back to Vancouver for game number 7, a 5-1 victory. The first time we've seen a multi-goal victory for the Oilers or Canucks in the series. We're now tied 3 apiece, and we're going back to Vancouver to try and seal this thing up. And what's amazing here is obviously the Oilers kind of had an effort like maybe we haven't seen throughout the series. I know we were talking on the post game, maybe a 55-minute complete effort with 5 minutes where maybe Vancouver had a little crack in the door to get back into it, but the Oilers again picked it up after that and got to work. So a very good one last night for the Oilers, a very good one for Stuart Skinner last night. Yes, he faced a few shots, but obviously when you're the Edmonton Oilers and you're trying to really come together with a big effort, you're not going to allow your goaltender to face too many shots. And though that said, the Canucks going into that third period, had a lot of high danger chances against, right? I think it was 5-3. I think the slot shots were 7-5. And I think the odd man chances were like something 6-4. So Stuart Skinner was on his game last night despite facing a very low volume of shots. So that's one thing you can kind of hang your hat on here. Maybe a well-rested Stuart Skinner is the reason the Oilers were able to rally around and find the back of the net as often as they did. I mean, again, say what you will, but 5-1 victory. Now that begs the question, if you're the Oilers, have you found the code to beating Chilvas, or are you just kind of getting lucky in Game 6 because maybe the Canucks didn't have their legs fully, and in Game 7 they will? That's another question you can ask, as the Oilers and Canucks will be set to do battle Monday night, 6 p.m. in Vancouver. And it's going to be a big one for us Edmonton Oilers fans. Like I said, Game 6 was about a failure of the season if you lost. And still, if you lose here tonight as well, or in Game 7, it'll still be failure for the Oilers. So there's a lot riding on game number 7 for the Oilers. And just to kind of break it down as well, you look at how they kind of stacked up in Vancouver. The big thing is, for the first time, I think, all playoffs, they out-hit a team 49-39 in the Canucks last night. They controlled the shot department almost 2-1. Face-offs were dead even, just in favor of the Vancouver Canucks. I think the penalty minutes, of course, kind of got skewed because of those two 10-minute misconducts at the end. Obviously, power play, penalty kills for both teams. Well, power plays were non-existent. Penalty kills were perfect. And then as well, you have the giveaways starting over the past 2 games to favor the Vancouver Canucks. That's something we haven't seen much of this series outside of 5 and 6. So it'll be interesting to see what happens in 7. And the block shots 17-11 in favor of Vancouver. So again, the Oilers don't give up a ton of volume of shots, but decide still to block as many shots as possible en route to Stuart Skinner. And there were some big ones last night. I think Vinny Desharnais had one, and Dylan Holloway bit one off the wrist as well, which was pretty high danger chance, but Holloway was able to steer it away and get that gone. So, it's one of those questions now, like I'm saying, for Archer Shilovs, he is going to need, for the first time really all series, a rebound performance, right? Nobody's questioned Shilov so far in this series. No one's been like, oh man, that was a bad game. Well, last night, 5 goals on 27 shots is a pretty rough game for a goaltender who's had a pretty incredible run so far in these playoffs, right? He came in midway through that series against Nashville and then all of a sudden had to face Edmonton, and he hasn't been that great. How about .815 save percentage last night against the Edmonton Oilers? That is going to kind of hurt his numbers quite substantially in these playoffs going into Game 7. So if you're a Canucks fan, maybe that is where you're a little bit nervous going into Game 7, or you're just nervous with the maybe lack of energy from the Canucks throughout 60 minutes in Game 6. Or maybe you're all like, hey, that's fine, that's fine, that's fine. We're going back home for Game 7, and I don't want to be the Oilers if you make one mistake. And that is where, two, it'll be incumbent on the Oilers to have almost a dang near perfect game in game number 7 to try and win this series. And that's the hard part, I guess, as an Oilers fan. You can celebrate this Game 6 victory all you want, but it really, at the end of the day, means nothing if you don't win Game 7, right? It's nice and dandy that you won Game 6 to send it back for 7, but you still got to win Game 7 to move on to face Dallas. I know one of my friends was posting there last night saying that ESPN currently has the Oilers facing Dallas in the bracket online, so that's another interesting note maybe right there is little ESPN mess up might be working in our favor here in terms of the Oilers advancing through in Game 7. So yeah, it's going to be interesting now, I guess, as an Oilers fan to see if you can replicate this effort, if you can also get Archer Shilovs to give up 5 goals again in a game. That's something that hasn't happened all series, and now all of a sudden the Oilers made it happen in Game 6. And 2, Nugent Hopkins and Connor McDavid, the top line was absolutely incredible last night, obviously, as well as Zach Hyman with a goal. Nuge had a goal and 2 assists. McDavid had 3 assists. Hyman had a goal. And just all told for the Oilers, it was one of those efforts where you got the right amount of mix in the depth scoring. So you look at here, Dylan Holloway, Zach Hyman, Evan Bouchard, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, and Evander Kane, right? There is no Leon Draisaitl. There is no Connor McDavid on the score sheet. Yeah, Bouchard's there. I know the stats saying Bouchard's kind of got the bulk majority of points alongside McDavid and Draisaitl. But you look, Bouchard obviously had a pretty solid night coming up with a 2-point effort. You see Nugent-Hopkins with a 3-point, Connor McDavid with a 3-point, actually Bouchard with a 3-point effort as well, and Leon Draisaitl with a 2-point effort. The only depth scorers per se were Dylan Holloway and Evander Kane, but still to see that all 5-on-5 last night is absolutely incredible as well. You want to make sure you're seeing that as often as possible in a playoff win, and the Oilers got that done. As like I said, both power plays went 0 for last night, a combined 0 for 7, and another follow-up game to Game 5 where the defense on the penalty kills was absolutely incredible. So we'll see kind of what Vancouver has for the Oilers in game number 7. Full credit to them thus far to get it to 7, and for the Oilers a dig-in effort to get it to 7 as well. Friends, I'm Tyson, this is Dolynny TV. Thanks for being aboard the next day. We'll talk to you a little later on today if there's any news. If not, I'm up on out of here. Enjoy your Sunday. A May long.